Welcome, everybody, and hello. This is the Apostate Prophet. Today, we want to talk about what has been happening recently in the fresh and fit, innit? What have you heard about it, David?
Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he played a dude who was it starts off with like forging checks and stuff like that, but the police he had to get to the airport to get out of there, and he knew the police were going to be waiting for him, so he got all these hot stewardesses to walk beside him, and he dressed like a pilot, and everyone's looking at all the hot stewardesses with their boobs in everyone's faces, and then he walks right past the police and they don't do anything. But that's like the Fresh and Fit podcast, as far as I can tell. We got a bunch of hot chicks with their boobs in everyone's faces. No one's going to be paying attention to what awful, insane, idiotic nonsense we're saying the entire time, because they'll be distracted by the zaboobas.
I have been reliably informed that when somebody talks about Fresh and Fit negatively, they very quickly attempt to take down the video or the stream through copyright strikes and things like that. That would be a fraudulent copyright claim, because this would be explicitly stated over and over, explained. Fair use, they should be aware of this. Daniel Kikachu, in response to what we are about to watch, said, "Hey, Laura Luma, you want to insult Muslims in Ramadan? Why don't you debate me on Fresh and Fit podcast on Judaism versus Islam and women?" As soon as I saw this, I laughed a little bit, and I thought to myself, why in the world does Daniel Kikachu want to be invited to Fresh and Fit and,
Yeah.
and debate with a woman about Islam versus Judaism? Why, Daniel? Why is this a good idea? Why is this even like from an Islamic perspective? Why is this even acceptable? I don't get it.
Well, we know what the goal is. He's going to say, okay, so if she accepted, then he's going to contact Fresh and Fit, and he's going to say, okay, guys, so I want the same format, bunch of ladies, but I want all the girls to be 5-year-olds. They don't even have zaboobas.
You had to do that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about this. What's crazy is, look at this. He's flipping out saying, "You insult Muslims in Ramadan," like riling people up against her. She was asked. They asked her. They brought it up. They said, "Hey, I looked you up on Google, and it says you're anti-Muslim. So what's up with that?" And she said, "No, I'm not anti-Muslim." And then he attacks her for insulting Muslims during Ramadan, and then wants to go check out some 5-year-olds on Fresh and Fit. My goodness.
And just for those who have never heard of Daniel Kikachu, just to clarify that this is not just something we're saying here. This is Daniel Kikachu.
Signs of physical maturity, it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Starting puberty unusually early.
Is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
You can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
Could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible. As I
said,
said,
age 4.
If there are signs
3.
So this is something that becomes biologically impossible, because
I have a study that shows it goes as early as 11 months.
Well, that's something that the parents would not. See, the thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages. And when you look at the marriage of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
So that's it. There you go. This is Daniel Kikachu. It's not just something we make up. What's funny is on Fresh and Fit, this episode with Laura Loomer, where she's supposed to talk about Islam, we can see here in the comment section that some people, I checked earlier, I don't know if you can still see those, people were complaining about how how they let Laura Loomer talk about Islam. She's never talking crazy about Islam ever, and so on. What happened is that at first they had the section on here which says thoughts on Islam. You can see the timestamp.
Yeah, it circulated as a clip on Twitter of what she said about Islam, and then everyone is flipping out about it. The Dawa guys were all flipping out. And so I went to find it because I wanted to see it in context I went and I saw, oh, well, it's timestamped. That's convenient. Clicked on it. Hey, it's not there. They must have got the wrong timestamp. So I looked through the comments. Other people are talking about it, so it's obviously there. Finally, I went to the transcript and I looked through the transcript, couldn't find it. And I was just like, these guys actually took it out. They took out the clip.
Yes, that's exactly true. And the funny thing is, Fresh and Fit is supposed to be a show hosted by these tough guys, by these men who are totally confident, self-confident, and who have a conversation here about Islam and all that at this one point. And the hosts don't object to it, of course. The hosts are like, yeah, of course, this is all right. Everyone can say whatever they want here. But once they get bullied by the Muslims, who are very sensitive and very sad about this, they take it down. So just Mike, I just have one question here. Is this how these tough guys act? Is this how these proud, great men act? Is this, or have they been intellectually castrated? Yeah, when a Muslim gives into pressure and tones it down, or takes back their what they said, or apologizes, this is the reaction they get from Mohammed Hijab, for example. They say, "Are you intellectually subservient?
Are you sick in the mind? Are you that mentally enslaved and intellectually subservient?"
So I just want to ask Fresh and Fit, are you that sick in the mind? Are you that intellectually subservient and intellectually molested and ideologically molested?
And intellectually molested and ideologically molested?
Oh, wait. We can actually conclude, given the definitions available to us, that Fresh and Fit have been intellectually molested by Mohammed Hijab and the Dawa clowns.
Yes.
And that's why they backed down and took down the clip.
Are you that mentally enslaved and intellectually subservient and intellectually molested and ideologically molested?
See. I went to the Rumble channel and looked at the Rumble stream of that very video. On Rumble, they didn't take it out yet. On Rumble, it is still there.
I'm not anti-Muslim, but I am anti-Islam. Like, I'm not a fan.
Oh, did you hear that?
Mm.
She said she's anti-Islam. This is unacceptable. I now completely agree with Fresh and Fit in their decision to cut this out. This is unacceptable. How can you say?
Yeah, we just watched a clip of Mohammed Hijab. We watched some clips of Mohammed Hijab on Fresh and Fit last night on Inspiring Philosophy's live stream, and Hijab was attacking Christianity the entire time, and as far as the clips we watched, blasting away, lying every step of the way, just completely making stuff up, stuff that he knows is not true. Keep in mind, that's perfectly acceptable. But a woman cannot say, actually, I have a problem with Islam, for even like however long this lasted, like 2 minutes or something like that, tossed out a couple of criticisms of Islam. That's too much for them. Guys, notice what the Dawa guys want. They want to be able to sit there and just completely lie about everyone else's beliefs on the planet, and no one is allowed to say a word in response to them. It's the exact same agenda as as Sharia, right? It's, hey, we get to preach Islam, we get to talk about Islam. No one gets to disagree with us. No one gets to criticize us back. That's the way things are, and they can enforce that either through the government in a Sharia state or just by mob violence, like in Pakistan. They want the world to be like that. They understand it's not like that in the West, and that you can't just do that. So they get the same result by constantly whining and complaining and, oh, the Islamophobes attacking us during Ramadan, blah, blah. And they just whine until what happens? Until they get basically the same outcome. They get to talk and run their mouths about everyone else, but everyone else has to keep their mouths shut about Islam. And no, not going for it. Fresh and Fit, they go for it. We're not going for it.
It's a supremacist ideology, and it oppresses women. And like you yourself, you said you were joking, but you're not joking, right? When you said your parents left because you're Christian, you left because in these countries where they have Sharia law, you are not able to practice your religion freely, right? And so here in the United States of America, where they say we have so-called freedom of religion, yeah, well, like Muslims here in America are not living in reality, because that's not the reality for like 90% of the world's Muslims.
Wait a minute. She just made that woman who said that her parents left because they're Christian. She made her, and she apparently said it's a joke. She immediately made her admit it's actually true, because that's the reality. Because you can't exist in Muslim countries. That's funny.
Muslims, right? Like 2 billion of the world's Muslims. And so because I speak out about human rights violations, right? Like I'm not in favor of stoning women, only whores.
Laura Loomer.
Laura Loomer, ladies and gentlemen.
No, don't stone people.
I'm not in favor of throwing gays off of buildings, right?
Whoa, hey, why not? That's Islamophobic.
What's crazy is the stuff she's saying. I mean, Daniel's throwing a tantrum over it. He believes in executing gays. He believes in child marriage. He believes in wife beating. He believes in taking female captives. It's just a weird situation where most of the stuff she's saying, Daniel Hakikachu would say amen to it. It's just his problem is that if you're saying it critically and saying, I don't like it, then you have to be silenced and called a hoe. You have one random podcast where someone asks Laura Loomer what her problem is with Muslims. She says, I don't have a problem with Muslims. It's with Islam. She mentions a couple things and it's too much for them. They all lose their minds. What a bunch of babies. They can't handle the slightest bit of criticism, especially, I have to say, especially from a woman, and especially when it's the audience is a bunch of non-Muslims who are gonna find out some disturbing information about.
So what
Islam.
he actually did first is he actually wrote a whole novel in response to Laura Loomer, to say this ghoul-faced hog appears to believe that Judaism is some kind of feminist religion compared to Islam. Let's check the facts. And then he goes into traditional Judaism, teaches that men should rule over women in all areas of society. Rabbi Eliezer. And then he engages in what these people always engage in thinking that Judaism is exactly like Islam, where you find a statement in a text, and then you're like, oh, kid, this statement is right here. That means it is universally true and applicable and should at all times be followed by all of us. So that means if some rabbi in the Talmud, for example, says, or if Maimonides says a certain thing, if he says apples are tasty, then every Jew around the world is supposed to think that apples are tasty, and nobody can disagree with it. That's how Islam would be. And these guys think that that's exactly how Judaism is. Judaism is not like that. It's not like that at all. Not like that at all. You can reject certain opinions, accept other opinions. You can read the Talmud and see in the Talmud the rabbis disagreeing with each other, harshly disagreeing with each other, having strong arguments and contradicting with each other. And you can be more drawn toward a certain opinion and less toward another opinion. There are laws which make up less than all the texts that are available, but Daniel Kikuchu people like Daniel Kikuchu will just open a reference to the Talmud and will see a little phrase in there and will say, oh, look, it says this, therefore this is what Jews believe. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's also funny that Daniel Kikuchu would be somebody who will attack people based on their lack of credentials and lack of knowledge on Islam if they try to criticize Islam. I'm sorry, but nobody can convince me that Daniel Kikuchu read 5% of the Talmud.
He's another Muhammad Hijab in the sense that he either doesn't understand anything he reads, or he does and he's deliberately deceptive. But every last one of the Dawa guys who actually quotes sources, every time we go to the sources, we find out it doesn't say anything like that, or they're not understanding it at all. I mean, Hakikachu is the same guy who says, oh, the Catholic Encyclopedia says that Mary was 12. And what do? We went to the Catholic Encyclopedia. It says no one knows how old Mary was. We don't have any reliable sources on it. It's like, what? Wait, what? And then IP was pointing out that like every source Daniel's quoting for anything in their child marriage debate and so on, he doesn't understand it. He's getting at everything wrong. He's misrepresenting it. And so, and part of the problem is the their followers condition them to be like this. It's the same thing with Andrew Tate's fans. When your fans will cheer for you, even if you're spouting complete nonsense that they could look up and find out is complete nonsense, it just encourages you to just keep running your mouth and be wrong about everything. There are no consequences in Islam for constantly making stuff up and just pretending that you're sharing accurate information. There's no consequences when you get caught lying.
Yeah, and just to point one thing out, everybody, for those who don't know, making certain statements about Islam and saying, look, Islam commands the killing of apostates is very easy, because you can make that claim and you can simply base it on very, very, very well recorded, authenticated hadiths attributed to Muhammad and acknowledged by scholars, where Muhammad says that apostates from Islam should be killed. You can't quite do something similar with Judaism, because Jews don't follow the Talmud. Jews study the Talmud. And just for reference, just so people know, none of these people have actually read the Talmud and actually know what it's all about. The Talmud is about 25 times bigger than the Quran. So none of these people can make me believe that they actually know what they're talking about when they talk about the Quran, when they talk about the Talmud. Anyway.
I'm not a fan of all these, free Palestine whack jobs running around the streets of Miami that are calling for the eradication of Israel and Jews. I'm just not down with that, right? But I don't hate Muslim people. I'm not a fan of Islam as an ideology, but I look at people on an individual basis.
Is that it? Is that
That's
all?
it. That's it. That's what they all lost their minds over.
Are you kidding me? Okay, all right. So
apparently,
ladies and gentlemen, this part where Laura Loomer said that she doesn't hate Muslims, she hates Islam, because Islam is very much anti-woman and hateful, and it does these things like oppressing women, even killing gays and all that. These are the things that she doesn't agree with, and she dislikes Islam. Of course, she didn't go much into detail, but when I saw people freak out about this, when I saw Muslims go insane about this, I thought she actually gave some deep speech in which she made claims about Islam that may be perceived as controversial. But David, I don't understand. I don't understand what exactly is the problem. She said nothing that is even controversial. The things that she said are things that the Muslims agree with, and that they are fans of. So what are they angry about?
In fact, the reality is way worse. The reality is way worse. She could have said way more. And if you started questioning someone like Daniel Hakikachu on his view of women and girls, it would actually be way worse than what she just said. Their real problem, which we talked about a little bit last night, is they're running out of ways to try and stop the avalanche of apostasy. So, they spent years using these stupid arguments, perfect preservation, scientific miracles. We spent so much time relentlessly debunking these arguments that they eventually admit that these arguments have been debunked. Their new plan, which has been their plan for a few years, is they want to dominate the social media, podcasting, influencer sphere, because they want access to people who are still ignorant about Islam and who don't know how all their arguments have been debunked. So they want access to dumb people who don't know anything about Islam. Fresh and Fit is an ideal spot for that, but they don't want anyone criticizing Islam on these platforms, because that ruins it. If all the hundreds of thousands of viewers find out, oh, this is what Islam teaches, it's going to ruin the dawah, and then they're going to have nothing. So anyway, they're kind of going all in on like Sneeko and Andrew Tate and getting on podcasts and so on. And even a little 2-minute section of someone criticizing Islam is a threat to that. And so they lose their minds. But yeah, I mean, just what a bunch of all the things that are going on, all the ideologies that are being criticized all over the place, you guys can't handle someone asking Laura Loomer, hey, what's your issue? And she gives a brief response. They can't take that. Bunch of babies, man.
Sneeko Updates posted this clip of
On your
Laura Loomer talking about Islam, and the caption said, Myron is an embarrassment to all Muslims. Wallahi. He responded to this saying, bro, shut the F up. All you do is bitch and moan in this community. God forbid I bring someone with a different viewpoint. That's the point of podcasting. We don't run an echo chamber over here.
Wait, and then he took it out?
Yeah, that's very interesting that he took it out here.
What a coward. Oh, my goodness. Hey, how dare you allow them to criticize Islam? I'll do whatever I want. Why can't you take anyone having a different view? That's right. We stand up for freedom of speech. Okay, I'll take it out. Okay, whatever you guys say.
Here's our dear friend Dilly Dally Hussein. He said, don't care how alpha, traditional, or red pill you are. A Muslim man who can't defend Islam and Muslims is an effeminate beta man. And that too against a genocidal Zionist witch. And that too in the month of Ramadan.
Oh, our holy month.
His defense, I'm not about echo chambers. Clown emoji.
Yeah, he is. He took it out. Can you believe these guys all whined? And at first he's like, you can't tell me what to say on my show. And then he takes it down. Wow.
Wait a minute. I didn't see this response here. Laura Loomer says, LMAO, why would an alpha male want to defend Islam? You believe that Muhammad is the perfect man. Muhammad raped women. Muhammad killed Jews and Christians. And Muhammad was a pedophile. Why would anyone want to defend that? I'm genuinely asking
alpha males defend pedophilia.
Yes. I genuinely asking you. Islam states that Muhammad is the ideal perfect man. How do you defend that, Dilly? Don't attack Myron when you know deep down I'm speaking the truth. You see? You can't acknowledge I'm right because that would be considered disrespecting the Prophet, which is punishable by death in Islam. But if you want to keep playing this game with me, I have tons of Quran verses I can send you to. Dilly Hussein. So again, where did I lie? Because you being triggered doesn't make me a liar, but it does make you an enabler.
They never understand different personality types. They never get it. They never get, hey, yes, one person, like you remember Pearly Things, right? Pearly Things like, wait, I just heard that Muhammad boned a little girl. Is that true? But she said it, and then they all jumped on her and like threatened her, and then she backed down and started getting very, very polite. That works. That approach works with lots of people. There are other people where if you come at them, they're going to come back at you harder. They're going to be more brutal in their criticism. And you could, I mean, my goodness, you could spend 5 seconds watching Laura Loomer and tell that she's the sort of person, if you fire at her, she's going to be firing back even harder. And hey, their brilliant plan. Hey, let's really go after her really hard.
I love how she handles this, though. Let's take a look at how women are treated and what they are subjected to in life by alpha Muslim men, since you have taken issues with my comments on Fresh and Fit. Also, please understand that I don't care about Ramadan or your tequila tactics.
To draft young men via the Red Pill podcast
world into thinking that Islam is a religion of peace or an acceptable ideology in the Western world. This attitude here, I will never respect an ideology that worships a pedophile, warlord, and slave owner as the most ideal man in the world. Muhammad should be condemned, and there should be a massive global Islamic Reformation movement to remove the toxicity of worshipping Muhammad from Islam. Islamic blasphemy laws and apostasy laws need to be banned. I won't back down from my position. My dog is named Mecca.
Should have said Muhammad.
That should show you how much I care about or value your opinion or your calls for me to hold Islam in high regard, Dilly.
Isn't it hilarious though that like the mentality of these guys, it's a month of Ramadan, therefore everyone needs to respect our calls to violently subjugate the world. Everyone needs to respect our views about molesting little girls. Everyone needs to respect our claims about Jews and Christians. Yes, the Quran says that Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. Jews and Christians, you need to respect that because it's Ramadan. Like, what planet are these guys about? Guys, if it's Ramadan for you and you want to gorge yourself with food multiple times per day, we're not stopping you. But on what planet do you guys think you get to tell the rest of the world what they're allowed to say?
Dilly said further, listen up, Laura Loomer. I generally have a
Here we go.
non-respectful engagement policy with Zionists, especially Zionist Jews. And I will explain why. No human that unequivocally supports the brutal occupation and theft of another people's land, violently displaces
what?
them from their homes,
Wait,
and then
no human
justifies it
that-
through apartheid and Judaism deserve. Wait. Through apartheid and Judaism? What? Go ahead. What do you want to say?
Oh, I'm just like, this guy's flipping out over the occupation and theft of other people's land. You mean like what Muhammad did, and what Abu Bakr did, and what Umar did, and what Uthman did, and what Ali did? These guys condemn their own religion and their most important religious figures like it's a sport.
You know what's funny? As a Muslim, I grew up basically priding myself or being taught to be proud of the Muslim conquests of other people's lands, pretty much, including, for example, especially with an emphasis on the conquest of Constantinople and Anatolia and further into Europe, taking all those Christian lands and basically subduing them and turning them into Islamic lands. So I grew up as a Muslim in an Islamic environment, in an Islamic family, to be proud of that kind of stuff.
We're proud of that.
However, now on social media, it seems that Muslims are telling us that it is actually a bad thing to occupy other people's lands and to take people's lands. I don't understand exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, by the way, so they actually use this as apologetics, the Islamic conquest. Remember Muhammad Hijab with Jordan Peterson? Islam spread so fast and we won so many battles. This is proof that God was with us. And Jordan Peterson, why didn't it work in Europe then? Well, it didn't work there. It didn't work there. Allah has no power over Europe. He's not strong enough. He's only strong in other places. But think about that, right? The Muslims won the battle of Badr. It's, you see, God is with us. And then they lose the next battle. And, it's because of him. He did something wrong. That's why we lost. That's why Allah wasn't with us. And then they win the next battle. You see, Allah is winning. And like their victories are proof that God is with them. Well, what happens when a tiny group of Jews can smack down the entire Ummah and there's nothing you can do about it? What's that mean? I mean, God's not on your side, that God's actually on their side? That's like a threat to their entire theology and mental health stability. So they lose their minds over it. They lose their mind. We can't take it. We can't take it. Look, it really, really looks like God's not on our side. And so what do they do about it? Well, we'll whine on Twitter. We'll whine on Twitter. This will get Allah back on our side.
I'm not even addressing your cheerleading for the slaughter of women and children in Gaza. Pretty sure that's not happening at all. We did, however, see Dilly Hussein and other people actually really cheer about October 7 and the killing and brutal execution and raping and capturing of Israeli civilians. You speak from a false moral basis. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm not going to read all this. Man. What is this? Muhammad was a pedophile. The Prophet Muhammad's marriage to our mother, Aisha, is not something Muslims need to justify or explain to non-Muslims. Well, Dilly, you know what? It happened. According to your sources, Muhammad married little Aisha when she was 6 years old and had sex with her when he was in his 50s and she was 9 years old. If Muhammad is now presented to people, to us, to others, by Islam as the perfect moral character, as the perfect moral example, it is natural that people will give their opinion on this and will say, that is unacceptable, it's disgusting, and we will not accept it. Why in the world do you have a problem with people saying Muhammad was a pedophile? And I don't like that. I don't accept that. I think that is disgusting, and I think that is unacceptable. Are people not allowed to have an opinion on this? Or what exactly is your problem? You say Muslims don't need to justify or explain this to non-Muslims. Okay, well then don't respond. Don't respond when people criticize it.
The whole mentality of it's shocking, like that they really, hey, we've joined a religion, and therefore we have the right to tell the rest of the world what they are and are not allowed to say, because we follow this illiterate 7th century Arabian caravan robber. We get to tell the rest of the world what they are and are not allowed to say, even when they're talking about us, even when they're saying Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. We have to fight Jews and Christians until we subjugate them and make them pay jizya. Even when they're talking about you, saying, ex-Muslims have to be executed. Even when they're talking about both of us, if you commit blasphemy, you have to be executed. They're saying all these things. So they actually are saying, hey, we have this ideology, and you, AP, we're going to execute you once we've become powerful enough. We're going to publicly execute you. And Ali Dawa says he's proud of that. And he says he's going to be eating popcorn. He said he's going to be eating popcorn watching all the executions. And yet they act like you're not allowed to respond. It's like, hey, you're the worst of creatures. We're going to kill you. Here's what we're going to do. You can't stop us. Say, okay, well, let me respond to that. No, you're not allowed to respond. You're hurting our feelings. It's Ramadan. Bunch of, I don't know what to do, man. Bunch of babies.
And then there's this post here
Is
where
that the thing where he flipped out?
Yeah, so there was a whole thing. The background of it was is basically that Myron's co-host Walter, aka Fresh, has been accused of being together with a woman and impregnating her, and then telling her to just get an abortion and all that. And people are going crazy about that because they're saying, how is this in line with all the values and all the things that we hold, being responsible men and all that? Anyway, people were telling Myron to hold his friend, his co-host, accountable, and he then went crazy about this, and people reported about it. And let's just view a very brief part of this.
This is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. My first real impression of these guys is, oh, you can't tell us what to say. We're so strong. We're so strong on our podcast. And then they take it down like a bunch of cowards. They can't handle it. And then this whole thing where they're saying one thing and behind the scenes they're telling girls to get abortions and stuff like that. And then when he's challenged on the other guy telling a girl to have an abortion, he loses his mind like a baby throwing a tantrum, like a toddler throwing a tantrum in the checkout aisle at Walmart because mom won't get him a pack of Skittles or something like that, like losing his mind, like he's about to fall over on the floor, losing his mind.
Let's see.
Are fat, triple chin, neck bearded, pieces of dorks with no money and no one likes you because you mother don't stand for nothing. If I stand with Fresh, I die with Fresh. It is what it is. Okay? It is what it is, you motherfuckers. Oh, it's getting shaky. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave. I got 20 real estate properties, so I can tell my net worth is over $6 million. I get money residually. I need to do this. I don't need to fulfill my soul. I stand with my friends. Period. All right.
Why are you shaking? Why are you stuttering?
Why stuttering?
And
why you deleting clips of your podcast?
Plus, if you're so tough and if you so don't give whatever I want, then why did you take it down, Myron? Why did you take it down?
And think about how pathetic this is. He must know his audience that, like, if you were giving some defense of your friend, or why you're remaining loyal to your friend, why wouldn't you calmly say this? Like he knows. I don't know his audience very, very well, but I mean, he must know that this is what impresses his audience. If I start freaking out and yelling, then they'll listen to whatever I say and they'll just ignore whether I have any coherent point at all. It's similar to Dawa. You know what I mean? It's similar to Dawa in the sense that you know your viewers aren't paying attention to what you're saying. They're paying attention to how confident you sound when you're saying it.
Is this supposed to be tough or something? I don't even. Is this supposed to be tough, David? Like when somebody goes on a rant like this, are they under the impression that this is actually tough talk? Because that's not what it feels like at all.
No, it's pathetic. I mean, look at the dude.
It is very, very, very loserly. Yeah.
But I mean, notice it's how Andrew Tate responds as well. You ask him, you challenge him on something, and he flips out and goes on a rant, and then it's, oh yeah, he's so strong. Look how passionate he is. He must be right.
Anyway, Dilly Hussein said, I wish brother Unplug Fit X, who is Myron, was this passionate about defending Islam and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when attacked by a genocidal Zionist witch on his own show.
To be fair, from an Islamic perspective, Dilly Hussein is absolutely correct. Wait a minute. Someone can talk trash about Muhammad or about Islam or about Sharia right on there. You don't show the slightest bit of concern. Although if you get harassed afterwards, you back down like a sniveling little coward. But you definitely weren't this passionate about defending Muhammad. Someone criticizes your co-host for doing something really messed up, and you just lose your mind. You can't take the slightest bit of criticism about you and your co-host, but you can take it about Muhammad.
Myron then responded to that. When I saw this, I laughed because I thought this is just funny. Two terrible people fighting here.
And then he takes it down anyway.
Yeah, and then
I'm a
he
free
deletes it.
speech enthusiast. I'm an American. I will never back down. Okay, I'll take it down quietly.
But Laura said, Sneaker, why are you associating with Ali Dawa, a known Islamic supremacist who has said on multiple times he would marry off his 9-year-old daughter, which is pedophilia? Isn't most of your audience minor boys? Why are you introducing this filth to them? Here is the video.
My daughter wants to make hold on. Let me finish. If my daughter reached the age of menstruation at 9 years old, I would say you are ready. You are ready to get married. However, it's forbidden for me to do more. If she says, Dad, I don't want to get married. No.
He's massively better than both his God and his prophet. As horrible as what he's saying is, he's still saying, if my daughter started menstruating at the age of 9, so he's actually waiting for that. You don't have to wait for menstruation according to the Quran or according to Muhammad. Muhammad did not wait for Aisha to menstruate when he had sex with her. And the Quran specifically refers in Surah 65, verse 4, to prepubescent girls, to consummating marriage and divorcing prepubescent girls. So, I mean, even Daniel said he believes he has to wait for signs of maturity and so on. And so as awful as these guys are, they're still better. They're still better than Allah and Muhammad. And that should tell you something about the religion.
Yes. But yeah, so this guy here clearly says that if he would tell his 9-year-old daughter that she can get married and would potentially marry his daughter off at the age of 9. That is what we're dealing with. And of course, people got kind of angry about this, about the fact that she shared this fact. Then Mohammed Hijab came in and said, keep talking, Laura Luma. We have information about you, which, if released, will ruin your life. Perhaps you would like to cleanse your sins by providing charity to Gaza and other affected areas on the link below. It's kind of funny how he completely distracts from the point here and goes to donations.
No, he goes to blackmail. We have information. Yeah. And by the way, think about this. Like, wait, she just says something, and you guys have this file of info that can bring her down that you're threatening her with, and now she has to donate to Gaza, or else you're gonna expose her.
Yeah. And then Laura responds to that and says, oh, so now you're trying to extort me. I'm not scared of you, Mohammed. You worship a pedophile who married a 9-year-old. And true to your name, you are literally on video supporting pedophilia. See video below.
Met Police.
Text to Met Police. I will expose anyone who is trying to harm children. Pedophilia has no place on X or in society.
No, we don't think there's any problem with it at all. We think that it's just because we have a different idea of what it means to be a child, which can be tracked historically. But now, if the situation has changed, we'd say that
if the trajectory
principle in Islam is, you can do what you kind of want, so long as, I'm not going to say you can do what you want so long as you're harming. You can marry whomever you want to marry, so long as it doesn't cause them harm, physical and psychological. So, for example, if I marry a 100-year-old woman, or Sneaker, if you marry with your tank top a 100-year-old woman, and and you
Look,
get
he's trying to
involved,
get Sneeko to laugh, and Sneeko's like brain dead right
you might
there.
die. I mean,
Probably stoned.
Yeah.
we would say that, well, if you were to be intimate with a 14-year-old or 13-year-old who's got huge hips and huge breasts.
Hijab, say what you really mean. It wouldn't matter if she's 5 years old. He's the one who pointed out in that famous clip we went all the way through, where he says the Quran does not require, there's no requirement to wait until a girl is pubescent. He said you can't get around that. You can't get around the fact that the Quran is talking about consummating marriage with prepubescent girls. So if a girl is 5 or 6 or 7, Daniel Hakikachu acknowledged, yeah, she's 5, she's 4, whatever, as long as there's, Daniel, again, is making requirements that the Quran doesn't have. The Quran doesn't say you have to wait for signs of maturity. That's Daniel Hakikachu saying that. The Quran doesn't think you have to wait for that at all. So what you should be saying to actually defend the point is it could be a little prepubescent girl, and Sneeko, you could bang her, and that's fine. Everyone's looking at Muhammad Hijab going, oh, this is so disgusting. He's talking about sex with a 13-year-old with a big butt and big boobs and so on. Yeah, he's doing that because he wants to kind of defend the point while distracting from the real Islamic view, even his own view, which is much worse. But he wants people to think that he's answering this.
Yeah.
Look at Sneeko. Well, I guess that's right. You've given me a lot to think about, Muhammad Hijab.
This whole feud between Laura Loomer and Muhammad Hijab continued a little bit, and then she apparently looked into Muhammad Hijab's business affiliations and found some evidence for tax evasions or some things like that, and made that public and said, how about that? You threatened me, now we are coming for you. But I don't know enough about that to go into the details of that. But yes, that is brewing on one hand. And Muhammad Hijab has been silent ever since Laura came with that response. But yeah, so Laura Loomer is obviously not scared of these people. And unfortunately, Myron from Fresh and Fit is scared, or Fresh and Fit are scared, because they have been intellectually molested by this guy here.
I see that the expansion of the Islamic empire is a proof for Islam. And it's not just me, even historians say this. Barnaby Rogerson, he said the fact that Islam spread to the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire is equivalent to is equivalent to Eskimos taking over Russia and America. I believe it's miraculous, if anything, that this happened. I don't think it's unjustifiable. I think actually, Jordan Peterson, to be
then why
honest
did
with
it
you,
stop at Europe's borders, so to speak? If it was a
well,
miraculous
it
expansion.
stopped out because of it wasn't successful there. It wasn't. It stopped where
Think about this. He's talking about, you see, this is divine intervention. Allah's on our side. Allah is helping us conquer all these lands. It's miraculous. Why didn't it work in Europe? Wasn't successful there.
I found this very funny. Totally unrelated to Islam, but you see how weird this guy is.
I had COVID and I got over it. It wasn't that deep. So I was thinking, why do I need that? Anyways, so when that happened to hijab, I said, personally, look, people should take it. I'm not telling no one to take it. I prefer not to.
Oh, you are against vaccinations in general, right? You're anti-vax.
No. I wouldn't say that. I would say personally, each individual, you have to, because at the end of the day, if for example, the urf of the people, like we live at a time where people, if it's needed and it's going to protect, if they believe it's going to protect, that's calm. You should obey the law of the land. It's as simple as that. As Muslims, our contracts are very, very important. So that's why I'm not telling anyone not to take it. I'm saying personally, me.
Okay, but you are personally against vaccines, right?
No, I don't want to take it. I'm telling you, I don't want to take it. You just keep telling me personally. I'm telling you, I don't.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying personally. That's why I'm saying personally.
No. You're saying that I believe no one should take it. I never said that.
I never said that.
Okay, sorry. Okay, just understand. No problem.
How can you possibly communicate with this guy?
That's a dude. That's a dude, ladies and gentlemen. That smiles to Jenna.
So here's Alidawa being fed grapes. But
Yeah, to satisfy a fantasy of
Yeah.
Smiles to
Don't be
Jenna.
jealous.
Based on what
Okay,
exactly is
mashallah.
God a necessary being?
Mashallah. Sorry?
He's saying, I'm getting king treatment here. Don't be jealous. You're not getting king treatment. You're getting pretty gay treatment.
Mm.
King treatment here. Don't be jealous.
Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous that I's getting fed grapes by me boy toy here.
Echoing Erudite heard of Mark Dice selling Christ as King shirts. I saw it. I saw it. And I wanted to call it out, but I was also too lazy to call it out, to be honest. I don't know anything about Mark Dice. I don't know anything at all about him, about what he does and who he is and why he is what he is. However, I saw a clip of him spreading the false idea that Jews, or that certain Jews said saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic, which is why he now insists on using the phrase and is thereby exploiting it by selling Christ is king shirts. And there's just so much wrong with it, because it is simply not true that Jews or some people told Candace Owens that it's anti-Semitic to say Christ is king. That never happened. It never happened. Never, ever happened. We had a live stream here. I had a live stream where I challenged people to bring me one example of a known person actually saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic. Nobody said that. Nobody ever said that. Candace Owens and the neo-Nazi Groypers made that accusation. They made up this claim that people said that, but nobody actually said the phrase Christ is king is anti-Semitic. And I saw this guy, Mark Dice, who is a YouTuber, relay that false information and also basically exploit that to sell merch, which is a disgusting move. That's all I know about the guy. Can't say anything. But this is just an instance of these neo-Nazis exploiting Christianity, which is terrible. Dominique Kayana said Andrew Clavin said it was. No, he did not. He did not. Andrew Clavin did not say that the phrase "Christ is King" is anti-Semitic. He didn't say that.
He said it's being used. He said it's being used by that, and he declared in the same clip. He said Jesus Christ is Lord, and every knee is going to bow, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Don't make us pull it out again. Don't make us show it again. He himself, in the very clip that you are referencing, said, "And I say, Christ is King. Christ is Lord, and every knee shall bow." That's what he himself says. He said that, however,
it's being used. It depends on how it's being used by people.
The Candace Owens is using it in a context, in a way, in an antagonizing way, waving it in Ben Shapiro's face, and basically abusing the phrase and weaponizing it in an anti-Semitic way. That's what he said. That's what it was about. He never, ever said that the phrase itself is anti-Semitic or that saying the phrase is anti-Semitic. That's completely made up. Nobody said such a thing. Nobody said such a thing ever. I'm trying to resist the urge to respond to these Groyper type idiots who still insist. No, you did say it. You did say it.
Ignore the Groypers, man.
You know, we had a live stream a few weeks ago where we addressed that specific issue. I think it was something about Christ is King, and we talked about it. And I played the clip of Andrew Clavin and what he actually said. You can see there for yourself that he never says that Christ is King is anti-Semitic, and he affirms the phrase himself. So if you are going to sit here and still argue after seeing that clip that Andrew Clavin or somebody else said saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic, then I'm sorry, you are not a serious person, or you are very stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and like side note, like what if he had? What if Andrew Clavin had come out and said the phrase "Christ is King" is anti-Semitic? Who freaking cares? What he like? Who would care? I'm like, oh my goodness! Oh my god! AP, did you hear this? Andrew Clavin said this. Oh my goodness! What are we gonna do? This is why we have to declare war against the Jews. This is why we have to support Nick Fuentes. I'm a Groyper now. I'm a Groyper. Like, gosh, this guy's the thought process of these people. It's like really, really weird.
You know what you guys do when these guys come out and engage in this very, very sick anti-Jewish behavior? You are doing exactly. You want to point at Jewish society that are a tiny minority and say, "Look at this! Look at those people! They hate Christians." How about what if certain people among Jews pointed at you guys, at you lunatics like Groypers, and said, "Look at this! Look at these people! Christians obviously hate Jews. We should beware of them." Same logic. Where do you think this goes? Don't be ridiculous. Don't be stupid.
Mhm.
Corners Bulldozer, how do you respond to people saying that we shouldn't worry about foreign conflicts and that we shouldn't intervene in them? I would say it's a very dumb idea.
I don't think that's an insane position to take. Hey, this fight is
Not
going
insane.
on over here. We shouldn't be involved, or we should be less involved. You can make cases for that. Usually, the United States gets involved in conflicts that the United States thinks are in its own interests. In other words, they think what happens in the Middle East is in the interest of the United States, and they think that Israel losing the war to Hamas or Iran or Hezbollah or any of these other groups would be bad, not just for Israel, but also for the United States. And I am inclined to agree that these things affect more than just that area.
Do you know what would happen in the world if Israel suddenly collapsed? If Israel
Oh, I tell you
suddenly
exactly what
collapsed,
happens.
if Israel suddenly
Reformed
collapsed,
caliphate within a year, there would be a reformed caliphate, because they would take that as like the ultimate win, and they would take that as proof that Allah is again on their side and that now is the time to conquer the entire world. That's what
but
would
not
happen.
only that, but that is one aspect. If Israel suddenly collapsed and Muslims took that land over, it would be the sign to them that now the tide has turned and Islam is once again rising. And this would be the beginning of after Saturday comes
Saturday comes
Sunday.
Sunday. Mhm.
Or some also say first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people. You know what that means? Google it. Look it up. I'm not making this up. Google for after Saturday comes Sunday. It is well known in the Middle East. It was also used in the 1930s in the whole Palestinian Arab uprising against Britain and the attacks against Jews. The idea was first we will attack and drive out the Jews on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we'll get to the Christians. So metaphorically, that's what is being implied. First, we take care of the Jews, and then we'll come to the Christians. Well, once we have driven out or killed the Jews, we will kick out or kill the Christians. That's a general sentiment. This is also a sentiment that many people in the Middle East who are not Muslim, who are Christian or Jewish, are familiar with. They are familiar with this phrase, which is why not everyone is a great fan of Islam. And lots of Muslims in the Middle East will also, in Arabic, use that phrase in order to intimidate Christians and say, hey, don't be so comfortable. Once we're done with the Jews, you are next. This is a general sentiment. If Israel suddenly collapsed, this would be the beginning of a huge, huge global disastrous conflict. But you know what? That's not even all there is to it. Forget about Islam, forget about Muslims, forget about Arabs and the conflict and all that. If Israel suddenly collapsed together with its entire industry and scientific advancements and contributions and so on, this would lead to a massive, gigantic collapse in technology, in security, in defense technology, in worldwide products, beginning with the tech sector, but also many other sectors in the world. Suddenly, lots of stuff, including computers, would be left unserved, stalled, starved, poor. And that's because Israel is actually contributing to the world greatly, hugely, whereas the other side is not doing anything for the world. I'm sorry, the other side is not doing crap for the world at all. Israel is actually contributing to the world. America has deals with Israel because America subsidizes Israel in order to then also get in return lots of services from Israel. And Israel is very heavily involved in the national security of the USA. America isn't just saying, oh, yeah, we just want to support Israel just for fun, just because we like it. We're not getting anything in return. Let's just do this. Let's just give them all the money. That's not how it works. America is looking out for its own interests and is doing so quite well. And Israel is a very reliable partner in this exchange. So it's a ridiculous idea to just say, you know what? I think we shouldn't be involved in any conflicts at all. Just leave them alone. That's not how it works. You can't make partnerships and benefit from each other so greatly if you don't know the in and out, the details of all the alliances. Learn about it first, but you can't benefit from each other. And then when it comes to conflict, say, you know what? We don't have any interest in this. We'll just stay out of it. That's not how it works. That's simply not how it works. It's stupid.
And one of the other things that has happened, as far as Islam is concerned, apart from just not being able to take a loss to the Jews and the obsession with that, the theological defense of, hey, they're on land that was once controlled by Muslims and now it's controlled by non-Muslims, and therefore we have to keep fighting until we get it back. That reasoning, it's not what it applied to in the Quran. In the Quran, it applied to Mecca, right? Like Muslims had to take Mecca because the verse says, drive them out from whence they drove you out. But there have been Muslim commentators who say, no, that means that anytime we get driven off any place, we have to keep fighting and keep waging jihad until we get it back. We cannot lose something that we once possessed. If this actually happened, that they were successful in getting Israel back, attention is just instantly going to turn to Spain and places in India and so on, that they now have to get those back as well. And they're going to believe Allah's on their side and getting those places back. So way more jihad in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's very funny? If you look for a list of Israeli inventions, you get huge sources, including a major, vast Wikipedia article for it. If you look for Palestinian inventions, there is no such thing. If you want to go broader and look for Arab inventions, you also don't get much in return. Do you want to support those who actually contribute to the world, or those who just care about themselves?
They're great at coming up with conspiracy theories.
That's true.
They're great at coming up with those. So that is the main. That's the chief export of Gaza, is insane conspiracy theories.
That's true. That's true. Even there, the identity and the flag were created by a Western people. Please. And as always,
stay away from Islam.